Going to call to order regular Board of Education meeting, September 24th, 2020, 7 o'clock. Lisa, take attendance.
All board members are present.
Okay, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. Is anyone else going to
the
republic
to the republic
to the
for
republic
which it
which
stands,
one
one
nation,
nation,
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
with liberty and
liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we'll work on that.
We were all saying that we were all just muted.
Okay, Dave, you bring a public comment? Okay, first one. I don't know if there's a name there. Oh no, it's I say it. Okay, please do something to relieve the large class sizes in Bloomfield Virtual. Despite wonderful efforts by our teachers, it's been especially hard to keep our youngest engaged when she rarely gets a chance to ask or answer a question. And it's no wonder with 25 kindergartens or a single video call, the disparity between this, like the 8 or 9 students per half-day sessions for face-to-face kindergarten, even when face-to-face is virtual, is alarming to parents. Why is it not alarming to the board? Our second grader at least had the advantage of being productive in a small group, but her class size is also larger than the face-to-face counterpart at our home school. It's unfair to teachers and students trying to navigate the new digital learning environment to provide such an unequal playing field. It's disheartening that Bloomfield virtual parents haven't had a response to indicate our concerns about class sizes were taken seriously. What options are being explored to alleviate the class size disparity between Bloomfield virtual and face-to-face? The only response to many of us was an invitation to return to face-to-face, not possible for most, and a conversation ending form letter indicating everything is fine the way it is. We appreciate having the virtual option and the efforts of our amazing teachers, but please don't dismiss our concerns by saying class size meets the minimum state requirements or match other districts. We choose BHS because we wanted a better than average education for our kids. We pay a premium in our taxes so we can be assured of exceeding minimum requirements. Dear Paul, I'm delighted and inspired to see many BHH school activities underway. Football, including JV, soccer, diving, cross country, volleyball, some theater, some music, equestrian, etc. Thanks to all the coaches, staff, parents, and students that have soldiered on during our strange times. I note that these activities took place not only in the face of COVID restrictions, but while school start times has not been altered. For years, I was told after school activities, but especially sports, would be compromised or impossible if the high school started any later than 7:25. It seems then that the argument was spacious. No, or am I missing something? I do note too that when the hybrid plan starts, one hopes on October 1st, that the early start times will be reinstated. Presumably, this is necessarily because of the bus schedule. In addition to after-school activities, the other argument for the imperative of early start times is bus schedule management. That said, under hybrid model, there should be significantly fewer students riding the buses. Wednesdays, for example, won't be busy at all. The logic here remains oblique to me. Could the board ask the superintendent to clarify the rationale here, or perhaps this is for facilities as we now seem down to the bus schedule as the only reason for required early start times for all? It is, in brief, a good time to be thinking about public health to out court? No. Please provide the community with the following information. In each K through 5 class, whether Bloomfield virtual or face-to-face, what is the student-teacher ratio? While the district offers a face-to-face and virtual option, the two programs are not created equal. In the face-to-face model, an average classroom is divided into an A-B hybrid model, allowing for more content to be taught in a classroom setting of half the children. The situation is not occurring in the Bloomfield virtual program. The teachers, while equally qualified and capable of teaching in the same curriculum, are faced with the impossible task of managing a class size in a virtual setting that is difficult at best. Mickey Rubenstein. In previous communications, the Bloomfield virtual community was advised the district was looking to bring the pre-student teachers to perform educational tasks. Pre-student teachers are individuals who are just beginning their path toward an education degree. They have not yet taken courses which would advance them to student teacher status, which allows them to work in a classroom to obtain credits toward the degree completion. Why does the district find it suitable to provide pre-student teachers for the Bloomfield virtual school, but not use them in the face-to-face setting, freeing up staff to assist in the Bloomfield virtual school? A major argument supporting the face-to-face return to school segment is the balance of emotional well-being of the children. The same consideration is not being extended to the staff and the children in the Bloomfield Virtual School. With class sizes of upwards of 30 children in the Bloomfield Virtual Program, how can a district expect for the students and the teachers to achieve the standards and goals set forth for the specific grade levels? What does the district plan to do to right the imbalance between the two programs? The parent population deserves an honest answer. I am a parent of 3 children in a Bloomfield Virtual Program, first, third, and sixth grader distance learning. Overall, I appreciate the teachers in the virtual program, see how hard they are working to keep children engaged throughout the day. However, I'm very concerned at the number of students in each class, as many exceed 20 to 30 students. Virtual learning is not the same as in person and should not be treated as such. It requires a teacher to be much more engaged with the students, and the students must personally engage with the teacher. This engagement is necessary to overcome the lack of physical proximity, and it takes time to make a personal connection. This connection should not be minimized, especially in younger children. It's tough to wait your turn to speak when there are 10 people in front of you, but even more isolating when there are 20 and the teacher doesn't seem to raise your hand. See you raise your hand. This is no fault of the teacher, but rather a challenging of online learning. Smaller class sizes are important in virtual learning because it takes longer to provide a lesson and address questions. While the number of students in person is far less, 10 to 15 kids, it is unfair for Bloomfield virtual students that have had a much higher student to teacher ratio. Please consider adding additional teachers, student teachers, paras, or other assistants to help the Bloomfield virtual students progress at the same as in-person students. I have heard feedback from that the Wi-Fi available at BHMS is unreliable even under normal conditions. I'm concerned that when the hybrid schedule starts and my sixth grader is attempting to log into the live stream from home, since he will not be returning initially, he won't have a good user experience due to the Wi-Fi issues in the building. What is the district doing to help schools upgrade their internet service to ensure instruction is accessible to students and commensurate an on-site instruction for students that were made at home during the phase-back period? Looking at the schedules, it does not look like Wednesdays will be synchronous learning. I appreciate all that was done to get kids back, but I worry about all of this time off. Learning in person should be essential. What plans are in place to get the kids back full time? As a working parent, and I'm sure it is just as tough on non-working parents, this schedule really puts a strain on everything and anything. Can you be assured this is all being done to get the kids back more full time since the number allows this? Now that we are in place, when you have determined it's safe for students, teachers, and staff to return to in-person learning, I struggle to understand why you, the board, are still conducting these meetings virtually. If the plan is safe enough for the students and teachers, why is it not safe enough for the board? I'd like to see you meeting all in mass, sitting spaced in the classroom just like our children will be. I think it would be a great way to show the community what the classroom spaces will be like and how communication, the group situation will work while everyone is masked. It will also show you truly believe in the plan. I feel that is safe enough even for yourselves. My son's second grade virtual class is 26 kids. The ratio of 26 to 1 is not reflective of Bloomfield Hill School standards and is possible for the students and teachers alike. The children would greatly benefit from having their class split in half and only attending synchronous classes half of the current full-day schedule. The current situation seems like 6 hours of babysitting without much thought of what is best for the learning environment. Dear BHSD Board of Education members, my family is new to the district. I am grateful for the wonderful things I'm learning and the warm welcome we have received as a new East Hills Middle School family. East Hills administration staff have gone out of the way to make sure my son has a good transition to the school this fall. I also have a daughter enjoying her junior year at the IA. I've tried my best to learn as much as possible about my new community. I'm currently the co-president of the PTIA, co-chair of the Health and Wellness Committee, a member of the district's Scope and Design Task Force, and an active member of the district's PTOC. I've attended the district's multicultural committee meetings, attended East Hill PTO meetings, and attended the International Academy's Joint Steering Committee meetings. I also have donated money to help improve learning experience for students and improve the learning environments, asked for donations, and well, I'll skip that one, fundraisers for the IA. I've been lucky enough to learn for some of the best in my new community. Some of these people include you. You are all BHSD child advocates. I have seen your endless work ethic and your loyalty to the community. I'm writing to you today to ask you to be advocates for all children. I have a bond sign in my front yard. I wrote all of IA Bloomfield Hills families, encouraged them to vote for the bond, and I voted yes. All kids deserve adequate funding for schools and decent learning environments. I understand the BHSD is responsible for the building only. Traub Elementary was built in the 1950s and has been neglected for many years. There is a shortage of usable toilets in the buildings. There are still 12 single bathrooms that have that have child-sized toilets from the 50s. Many IA students are not physically able to use their elementary-sized toilets. The other students are embarrassed to use them because the toilet in the classroom and it lacks basic privacy. There are not enough toilets on campus for 750 students. Most of the bathrooms we have are from 50s and need updating. The flooring of Traub is unsanitary and is worse condition than any other building I've seen during my buildings tour while on the Scope and Design Task Force. Can you raise it, Dave? Seeing space heaters in classrooms tell me that HVAC issues have yet to be completely resolved. There are 28 instructional spaces at Traub with currently 33 teachers. Student teachers have limited space to work and no space for breaking out into small groups. Stained walls, chip paint, and damaging flooring in the gym, cafeteria, auditorium is very unsightly and embarrassing for our students when the community attends their performances. Using the gyms for cafeteria and auditorium is not the Bloomfield standard. The IA has to relocate performances to BHS most of the time because the elementary gym, auditorium, cafeteria is too small to accommodate our school community. Many of our students' loved ones are unable to visit because the building is not handicap accessible. Overall, the building is not reflective of one of the best high schools in the nation. Our students and staff work so hard for all of these accolades. Do you think these students feel like their needs are being cared for or considered in the current learning environment? Parents at IA have painted rooms, moved donated furniture from nonprofits to a rented truck.
Paul, that's 3 minutes.
Okay, all right. Thanks, Howard. Any other, what's the next one, Dave?
That is the last one.
Okay, all right. With that, I will go to Pat for a COVID data update.
All right, thank you, President Kolin. Let me present. So like we've done in previous study sessions and board meetings, we'll have another update on our blueprint, looking at the COVID data that we have that is most readily available for us. So looking at the period between September 9th and September 22, a couple of things you'll notice. Percentage of cases in hospitalization have gone down. The 14-day average has gone down. The 14 average day case counts has gone a little up. Overall, if you compare it to the last report, it's fairly stable, the numbers. Then looking at the different age groups, we're seeing an increase in the 0, 4, 10 to 13, 14 to 18, then a decrease in the 19 to 29. It's not a significant increase compared to the last time period we've looked at, but the trend is a little bit up at this time. On our homepage, a lot of people have noticed that we have a COVID tracker that is displaying the different data points we're looking at. So new cases per 100,000, we are now in day 97 of yellow. And then percent positive, we are now in day 5 of yellow. About a week and a half ago, we had a dip where we went back up in the red. Overall numbers are significantly down than when they were. If you look right in this area here, at the beginning of August, moving into late August, so the numbers have continued to go down, which is obviously a positive trend and one that is beneficial as returning students to in-person learning. Oakland County Health Division has been releasing a lot of updates recently. We received information probably 3 times in the past 7 days. One of the new forms they've released is the possible or confirmed case report. So we're using the material that they're sending us per what was in the Michigan Return to School Safe School Plan by Governor Whitmer. So we're excited that we're receiving all these documents and able to leverage them and use them as we go back. So if we believe there's a possible or confirmed case, we'll simply fill out the form, we'll email it. We've been told, I was on a meeting today with Oakland County health officials with the superintendent's group. We were told the quickest way to have them reply to us is via email. So we'll make sure that we send an email first, followed by a phone call afterwards, so they can help us if we have a possible or confirmed case. Again, another reminder, kids 4 to 17 years old with symptoms who live in or attend school in Oakland County now qualify for free testing. On our Oakland County Health Division call this afternoon, I know Oakland County Health is looking at some additional testing areas. Again, these are no cost to COVID-19 testing. Appointments required, no physician prescription needed, and you can contact a nurse on call to get additional information. So it's important, if you're not sure or if your son or daughter has symptoms that you believe are COVID, it's probably best to go and get the free test at that point. President Kolin, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thanks, Pat. Okay, I have my president's report.
Oh, can I ask a question?
Yes.
Yep, sure.
Just an informational question. Pat, could you tell us a little bit about if we've touched base with our assigned nurses, like what's going on with that?
Yeah, so we've touched base with our assigned nurses. If you get bored later tonight, you look at the Twitter pic I took of Carrie Crocker at Eastover, you'll see one of our nurses there. Unfortunately, we did lose one nurse this week, and so Oakland County Health Division will be sending us another one so that we have two. But our current nurse is on site in buildings, wherever we need her to be. And so we're very grateful for that partnership, and it truly has been beneficial.
Thank you.
Any more questions for my colleagues on the numbers before I go to the report? And I know you're going to give another presentation later, Pat. So, okay, so we can go through that. Okay, thanks, Pat. Okay, so as we near the end of the third week of the 2021 school year, I want to express my gratitude of the full Board of Education for our students, community staff, and educators. As we know, our new Bloomfield virtual school kicked off along with our in-person hybrid remote learning. Kindergarten began live on Monday and grades 1 through 5 today. The time and effort we all have collaboratively spent learning new platforms, new devices, and then pivoting as the new information became available was incredible. Watching our community adapt and support each other has made this transition very successful. Cannot go without repeating multiple times that none of this would be possible without the work of our entire staff. We consistently consult with boards from several other districts, and I could promise you that our staff has gone above and beyond to make this work for our community. Thanks to our staff, so we're able to give students and families choice and flexibility. Never have these two components been more needed by our students and families than right now. This is the kind of people-centered environment where learning thrives, and be assured it is thriving at Bloomfield schools. Teachers invited us into their homes, introduced us to their pets, woke up at 1:45 in the morning, excited to finally meet her or his nurse students, along with sharing glimpses into their real life struggles and accomplishments. And we are more grateful than ever for your dedication to our students and community. I also want to pay thanks to our community volunteers, whether it's our own students tutoring and mentoring others, families taking temperatures at co-curricular events, or just being patient as the district works through all of these challenges. We couldn't have done it without all of your support. The community volunteers has also been working with the building administration to put together social media platforms to help answer many of the community questions, like the virtual K-5 Facebook page, various building other PTO pages, and various other PTO virtual meetings, special education and parent groups, just to name a few. To all of our staff, community volunteers, on behalf of the district and the Board of Education, we say thank you for providing the support for all of our students and making this successful. That, I'll hand it over to you, Pat, for the superintendent's report.
Thank you, President Kolin. So as we know, fall signals a new beginning, and that new beginning is students returning to in-person learning. The past few weeks, we have started to welcome back our in-person students to our school buildings. With smiles under their masks, students and staff enjoy the first days of the hybrid plan. We look forward to welcoming more students for in-person learning over the coming days according to the hybrid phase and schedule. We'd also like to thank the community for their support as we implement 3 different hybrid plans. 3 plans designed to meet the best interests of our students moving forward. Also, of special note, we will need to continue to monitor the COVID numbers, our policies, our procedures, and be prepared to make additional adjustments along the way, as we've had a few logistical errors in busing and a few errors in other areas. And to those families, I apologize. We are working hard to make sure that we get it right. So thank you to everyone that's reached out to me with offers of helping troubleshoot and letting us know areas we can improve on. Looking at the next phase and plan for learning. On September 29th, we will welcome back grades 6 through 8. On October 1st, cohort A of 9th grade. Of October 2nd, cohort B of 9th grade. Of October 5th will be grades 9 through 12. So by October 5th, all students will have returned to in-person learning that have decided to return to in-person learning. And keep in mind, as we move forward, we'll need to continually look at the plans. This can't be our plan for the full year. We will need to look at the data. We will need to make adjustments. We will need to tweak along the way to continue to meet the needs of our students. I would also like to share an update regarding Bloomfield Virtual on behalf of Jen Teal. On September 23rd, there was a curriculum night for Bloomfield Virtual. There was a great turnout, and staff shared positive feedback regarding conversations with families on that evening. Jen has been in classrooms this week to see the wonderful conversations students and teachers are having. She's loved getting to hear teachers conduct readers' workshop with students via Zoom. Bloomfield Virtual has a building leadership team that represents teachers across all grade levels, meeting monthly. They are now launching a GET team and a PTO for Bloomfield Virtual. Families have already reached out with exciting ideas about how to partner with us at Bloomfield Virtual. Bloomfield Virtual is in the planning stages around experiences for students at the Farm and Nature Center, with the goal to begin these during the month of October. Teachers are currently in the middle of conducting goal-setting conferences with families, which is a great way to get some one-on-one time to focus on learning goals of each individual student. Teachers are well underway in offering a range of experience with students, including small groups, one-on-one time, and whole group instruction, and students are beginning to adjust to their virtual schedule. Thank you, President Kolin.
Thanks, Pat. Thanks for the update. With that, we'll go to consent agenda. Lisa?
Okay. I move that the Board of Education approve the recommendations detailed in the consent agenda as follows. Request to approve minutes from a regular meeting of August 20th. Request to approve minutes from a special meeting of September 2nd. Request to approve minutes from a study session of September 10th. Request to approve disbursement reports as attached. Request to approve HR actions as attached. Request to approve the purchase of land from the Michigan Department of Transportation. Request to approve the winter tax levy. And request to approve bid 2101 for a Bowers Farm kitchen hood.
Support.
Thanks, Cynthia. Cynthia, support. Howard?
Yes.
Jennifer?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
Jackie?
Yes.
Lisa?
Yes.
And Cynthia, obviously. Yes. I'm yes. Consent passes. We are going to a general discussion, presentation, Bloomfield Hills Education Foundation, Kathy and Mary Ellen.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to update you tonight on the Bloomfield Hills Schools Foundation. I always look forward to sharing our successes and our support for the Bloomfield Hills Schools community. As you may know, tonight will be my last update to you. I'm leaving the foundation in the next couple of weeks. I'm going to head south to help my parents with some health issues. And while I feel very fortunate that I have the opportunity to do that, I'm very, very sad to leave the foundation and this incredible community. I am so proud of the efforts and significant achievements of the Bloomfield Hills Schools Foundation and feel that it's fostered a culture of giving and support for our district. Our amazing community of donors has given us the opportunity to fund programs and initiatives that engage, enrich, and inspire. And I want to thank you, the Board of Education, and every donor who has supported us. They promoted our grant programs, attended our events, and contributed to our fundraising initiatives. Your generosity and dedication has helped us to grow our vital and essential support of the district. Tonight, I'm going to share some highlights with you and talk about steps forward. And I'm happy to take questions at the end of my presentation. So I'm going to share my screen with you, so bear with me here. And I just have a brief few slides to present. Your entire screen. Yes.
Yep, it's there, Kathy.
Great, thank you. Okay, here we go. I always like to start by restating our mission. It's the foundation of our existence and the underlying intent of all of our initiatives. So it is to support the learning and development of our students by engaging with our community to fund programs, initiatives, and materials that are not funded or funded only in part by the district's budget. So now I want to move on to some highlights. Back in 2014, the foundation was restarted and tasked to begin a mini grant program. These programs are a significant component of public school foundations across the country. Mini grants support enhancements and programs that promote excellence in teaching and learning. They include materials or equipment for projects or programs, or payments for learning experiences for students and staff. Over the years, the foundation has expanded its mini grant program to target district-wide initiatives that include seed money for new programs, upgrades to equipment and materials, and learning experiences for students, professional development for staff, and engagement opportunities for our community at large. These grants empower and reward our educators to dream big and think outside the box. And they engage our students in activities that are challenging, enriching, and inspiring. So we have built a solid, sustainable mini grant program. We've awarded $235,000 in grants, 215 of them ranging from $100 to $11,000 over my tenure. We've also established a robust directed giving campaigns. Directed giving programs are vital. We have many donors who wish to support specific programs and initiatives, programs to which they feel very strong connections. We value working with donors to help them give to our communities in ways which are personally meaningful. So far, we've awarded $75,000 in directed giving, and we are currently holding $101,000 in restricted donations. We've also launched a planned giving program. Legacy giving allows donors to make a personal gift that impacts the district beyond their lifetime. We have signed an MOU for 50% of a donor's assets, which were valued at the time of signing at $350,000. We've created the BHS Foundation Endowment. Last year, we created this endowment to help ensure the BHS tradition of excellence will continue for generations to come. Our BHSF board members have committed to financially supporting this district. Several board members have donated to a generous matching gift program, which is, I think, $12,500 is a matching gift for our endowment. I hope all of you will support this endowment, and I ask you to make a gift. These are our highlights continued. So to date, we have raised $968,000 in cash donations. Our largest single individual cash donation came last year, which was $58,000 by an anonymous donor. We have grown our database, our donor base, from 46 donors to more than 1,200, with 30% of them making recurring gifts. We've established a successful annual and tribute giving programs, and we've celebrated our community at 5 successful district-wide celebrations. And these celebrations are unique because they involve people from across our community: educators, administrators, board members, parents and grandparents, alumni, parents of alumni, students, business and community leaders. At these events, we also honor some of our amazing alum, and our very own, to include Richard Bernstein, Abdul El-Sayed, Ricky Lax, our very own Jills, and in our most recent, because we didn't hold one this year, but in 2019, we honored our very own teachers. So I'm going to talk a little bit about moving forward. All right, I've got my notes here. We are going to continue our grant program, as well as continue fundraising for our annual appeal, our tribute campaign, and directed and planned giving programs. Many of our donors enthusiastically support the mini grant program. They are intentional in wanting to empower our educators and enrich and expand learning programs. Others ask if there are specific initiatives and programs, materials, or equipment that they can support. We are going to continue to work with our district administration to identify funding needs, particularly district-wide needs, so that we can tell our donors specifically on an annual basis what our district is looking for. We're going to expand our focus this year on alumni programming and the growth of our endowment. We've already begun initiatives in these areas, and you'll be learning more about them as we move forward. We're also going to continue to focus on using our comprehensive centralized donor management system across the district to increase efficiency of fundraising. We have a robust donor management software, and we want to share it with the district. We have so many generous donors across the district. It behooves us to understand our donor base and to continue to engage with them. They have donated because they understand their value and their contribution is meaningful to them. So let's continue to reach out. And we're going to continue an annual event which brings together our community at large. We don't know what it'll look like this year, but we are going to continue with that. So thank you again. I want to give a special shout out to Cynthia and Jackie. I so appreciate your serving on the BHS Foundation Board for many years. And I'd like to thank all of you for the opportunity to help grow the foundation over the past 6.5 years. I've greatly appreciated all of your support of me and the foundation. And I know there is so much progress to be made and many more successes ahead for the foundation and for our community. Can't wait to follow the growth.
Thanks, Kathy. I know
Thank
you'll be
you.
missed. Before any questions, I know on behalf of the board, Cynthia, who's been on the foundation board, she's going to say a few words on behalf of at least some of us, maybe not all of us. We could all add in if we want to as well. Cynthia?
So Kathy, I want to extend my great appreciation to you. I was honored to be able to be part of the team that selected you to be our first executive director for our Bloomfield Hills School Foundation 6.5 years ago. I've been on the board for the foundation since its inception, and the opportunity to hire someone to create your position from the very start and help us create a strategic plan to move us to a new level, working with the board, the foundation. You have acquainted and engaged our entire community, our teachers, staff, our families and PTOs, in our greater community, in the Chamber of Commerce, and our alumni. And it's been a huge body of work to start from zero. And you've made a huge difference to all of us, and particularly for the students who the mini grant program where we can make visible our efforts to try to support our school district. As everyone knows, the foundation is a separate 501c3, and our foundation board of directors has been tremendously honored to work with Kathy to support the school district and all of our students. Kathy, you've made a tremendous amount of difference for our whole school community, and we will never be able to thank you enough. We certainly wish you well as you move forward and in the different efforts you do in the future. Hope you and your family are well. Look forward to your wedding of your daughter coming around the corner.
Thank you.
Please enjoy. And so many things made a huge difference in both of the schools.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I feel like it's been a privilege of mine to work for Bloomfield Hills Schools, to build this foundation. And I just think we're in a very good position to move forward. And I appreciate all of your efforts, Cynthia, and the board's efforts in helping us do so.
Mary Ellen, do you want to,
Yeah.
I know some other board members.
Yeah.
Mary Ellen, do you want to say something?
I would just like to say, Cynthia, thank you for those words. And on behalf of the actual foundation board, I think it's important to note that Kathy has a unique relationship with each and every one of us. We all have come with our different strengths and opportunity areas at different times. And everybody can use Kathy as a sounding board. And it's been a two-way street, learning from each other, challenging each other, and pushing each other to some of the highlights that were mentioned on the slides. As you know, early on, we kicked it off in one simple way. And we're now in a position to have all of the key pieces that all foundations have. And we just look forward to those of you who have been, waiting for that day with significant donations. Go ahead and make a donation, make it in Kathy's honor, however you want to do it. But it's been great to build a friendship with Kathy. I know she will stay in touch because she promised me she would. And we'll be able to ask her the questions we need to. Just in case it's on any of your mind, as we're thanking Kathy and we're going to miss her. Throughout the transition, we will have the opportunity to tap into her for some of the key things as we're kicking them off, as well as we decided as a foundation board, we will not immediately replace Kathy due to certainly all the challenges that the board and getting back to school and the COVID-19 challenges. We want to, sit with you, ready to support you in any way we can, but also be mindful of who and how we replace Kathy for the continued growth of the foundation and its continued growth and success going forward. So again, Kathy, cheers to you. Thank you, but I know where you live, and Hilton Head's one of my favorite places, so don't be surprised if I show up.
You're welcome. You're welcome to come down.
Thanks, Mary Ellen. Anyone else? Howard, I see you taking yourself off mute.
Yes. First, again, thank you, Kathy, for all the work. Fellow community theater devotee. Absolutely. So I was here, and so were a few of my other board members when we brought the foundation back to life back 6 years ago, and there was a lot of discussion and different alternatives as to how we were going to structure it. And Kathy leaped in with both feet and really helped in this process and did everything that the Bloomfield Hills School Board expected of the foundation board and the foundation organization. So thank you, Kathy, for all your hard work over the last 6 years. And I also would like to express my appreciation and thanks for Trustee Van Ooyen and Vice President El Sayed. They also are going to be leaving our school board, and by leaving the school board, they will be giving up the 2 seats that we have as school board member representatives on the foundation board. So thank you, Dr. El Sayed and Ms. Van Ooyen, for all the work that you've been dedicating to the foundation over these many years. Your work is greatly appreciated.
Thanks, Howard. Anyone else? Jennifer?
That was very eloquent, Howard. So no one could say it better. Kathy, I just wanted to say you are lovely and an animal lover. So I've really enjoyed working with you, even though it's not that much. And thank you so much for everything and the legacy that you will leave with a healthy foundation for the school district. And I hope that we can stay in touch. Are you moving to South Carolina?
I'm not officially moving. I'm going down probably now through December to kind of figure out what my parents need. And then based on that, my husband and I might actually go back and spend some of the winter down there. It's not a bad place to be. But it's just one of those things. It's a moving target. We don't know what it's really going to look like.
Anyway, just
there.
curious,
Well,
so I can call you up to hang out sometime.
Okay. Oh, absolutely. Please do. Right. I might have some pet questions anyway. So
anytime.
Thank you.
Jackie?
Yeah, thank you so much, Kathy. Howard was mentioning back in 2014 when we really had a great discussion about the restarting of the foundation. I was just, of course, we've seen the growth and everything you've done, but with the slide here, you're really sharing just how much you've grown the foundation in every way, and you've hit all the marks that we really were hoping that you would. And thank you so much for all of your dedication and all of the great work you've done for Bloomfield Schools.
Thank you, Jackie. I actually remember meeting with you after, I think it was after I interviewed, and before I was officially hired, you had some questions you wanted to discuss. So we met together, and I remember that meeting, and I remember your thoughtful consideration of the mission and goals of the foundation. Thank you.
Anyone else? I'll comment before if no one else has. So I remember, so Kathy, two things. One, I was really looking forward, and it's a shame to see how our foundation gala at the high school, see that kick off last, but unfortunately that never happened. Hopefully we can do that sometime. I don't know when, but eventually we'll be able to do that. And then I had the opportunity for the first time last year to go on what you call the prize patrol, which thank God that I run, because to keep up with the 17 different buildings and the 40 different but I think more importantly to see the faces of the teachers when you walked in and gave them their foundation awards, and I got to picture and videotape, and it really meant a lot to the teachers, the students. So I got to see firsthand what an impact you've made, and I know you've been doing it since 2014. So again, thank you on behalf of the district, board, and community for everything you've done. In the last couple of years. You'll be missed.
Thank you. I was really looking forward on dragging Pat along on Prize Patrol Day this fall, but I know you'll have the opportunity to do it, Pat. It's really a fun day, and a lot of tears and laughter, and you will have the best weekend of your life afterwards, because you just are on such a high from the energy and excitement in the district. So I'm sure that Prize Patrol Day will continue.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kathy.
Paul, I just realized I made a slight faux pas. It is Vice President Van Oyen and Trustee Elzada. Excuse me.
Thanks, Howard. Thanks for correcting that. Okay, with that, thanks again, Kathy, Mary Ellen. You're welcome to stay or you're welcome to drop off, whatever you guys want to do. These are always must-see TV board meetings. So with that, I'm going to give the FFLA update. We've had a couple of meetings. So at the August 6th FFLA meeting, our attorney Dana Abrams and our CFO Tina Kostiuk shared the due diligence performed and key provisions contained in unnegotiated bond professional agreements, which was subsequently approved by the board in August. The district's financial advisor joined FFLA to share a timeline on the issuance of the first two of the series of the BHS bonds, which will be available in October. Kelly Boyle, head of HR, shared the latest COVID-related guidelines for staff aligned with federal legislation. Then we had a special FFLA meeting. That's the finance legal meeting. When we say FFLA, was held on August 19th to discuss the bond issuance matters, including sale methods, underwriting services, bond resolution, and the bond program overview. And at the September 10th FFLA meeting, a bond update was discussed regarding project allocations, a bond committee structure, including there'll be oversight by FFLA and the need to identify and form appropriate stakeholder committees, and the status of issuing the Series 1 of the bonds expected to sell in mid-October with priority given to local investors. So I think we posted something. It could be on our website. I know something was shared on Facebook regarding who to contact if you're interested in buying some of our bonds. In addition, the opportunity to purchase the MDOT owned parcel adjacent to the farm and necessity for access to the east side of the property was discussed in detail. The FFLA committee recommended proceeding with the purchase, which is part of tonight's agenda. A brief discussion regarding the strategic plan goals and an update on federal and state funding earmarked for COVID-related costs was also presented. So that's the highlight of our last couple of FFLA meetings. Any comments, questions?
The only thing I would say, Paul, related to the only thing I would say related to finance, and it was subsequent to the FFLA meeting, was yesterday. the state Senate and the state House passed the education funding bill for the 2020-2021 school year. It is going to be very confusing and complicated with lots of details. So matter of fact, MASB has a seminar next Wednesday for a download from the School Business Officials Association. So I assume when we get to October board meeting, or the next board meeting, we'll be able to give a little bit of an update in terms of what kind of impact the state funding is having on the district. But at this point, it's too much in the it hasn't been all worked out. The governor has to sign it, number one, and then our CFO, Ms. Kostiuk, needs to crank the numbers through and see how the funding works against what we actually spent related to COVID. So it's going to be a little complicated, but I'm sure we will get updates over the next meeting or two.
Thanks, Howard. Okay,
How-
with
can I-
that,
Can I
Yep,
ask a
sure.
question?
Yep,
Howard, did you have any sense for the effect of our foundation allowance, or is it too early to?
It's too early. I saw that it got approved, but I really haven't had a chance to look at it. By the time we get to next week, I should be able to give us an update informally.
thanks, Howard. Any other questions?
I should, as far as I know, they haven't cut the foundation allowance, and there was a doom and gloom forecast back in May at the revenue estimating conference. Maybe the superintendent has an update.
Pat?
So the latest information that came up, it looks like there will be a per pupil increase of about $65 or $66 per student. That going along with the combination 75% from last year, 25% this year. They also made accommodations for districts that might have seen an increase in their.
I guess he froze. But I think, Tina, you could step in. I get the just $65 increase. Tina, want to comment? Or not? You're off, but we're not, I can't hear you.
Run.
Okay.
All right, how's that?
Okay, that's good.
All right, so the $175 reduction from last year was restored. We are going to receive a one-time $65 per pupil. The $65 per pupil will be based on 50% of last year's count and 50% of this year, which is different than that super blend of 75%, 25% that we heard. So that is all really, really good news. Those are the highlights.
So, Tina, I do have a question when we talk about, and I guess this is as good as time as any, we talk about count, right? With some people going to be, whether it's Bloomfield virtual or home remote, maybe on count day pending. So if someone just takes attendance remote, right, that counts as count toward count day, correct?
It's a little more complicated, and you probably don't want me to spend the time, but it has to do with two-way interactions. And so our supervisor of student services, she is all over those rules. It's just critical for students to attend on count day, critical, I will say, and and every day, that unless of course they're feeling not so well.
But there'll be guidelines, right, Tina, about especially if someone's remoting in, what that two-way, just to make sure that they get credited, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
And Tina, that $65 is 1X or 2X?
I did not read whether it's 1X or 2X. For some reason, I was thinking I saw 1.5 times, Howard, but I'm going to have to double check that, and I will be reporting that to the board this weekend.
And as I said, this was just approved yesterday, so I quite understand the uncertainty at this point.
Thanks, Howard.
Yep, you and I love those numbers.
Thanks, Tina. All right, with that, we'll go to Jennifer for a BIC update.
Okay, hi. So the BIC, the Board Instructional Committee, we met on September 3rd. And we spent a lot of time reviewing the information about FastBridge, our new formative assessment system, much of which we went over at our last study session on September 10th. So just in a nutshell, this is our new formative assessment system for K through 8, reading, math, and it has a social emotional learning component. The product is manufactured by the Illuminate company, and they are based off of research from the University of Minnesota School of Education. So this will be replacing NWEA. The advantages are that it dovetails with our DNA system, which I believe is summative assessment, but correct me at the end if I'm wrong about that. Both are made by Illuminate. The FastBridge assessments take a lot less time than NWEA, and they also have very detailed follow-up and progress monitoring assessments of specific skills, which can be used as even weekly checkups to tweak interventions for specific students. It has recommended free instructional components if teachers want to choose to use the tools. And it is basically better integrated into instructional design than NWEA is. The mental health screener is also a big plus. So basically it provides a lot of very specific information, and it gives our teachers the flexibility to customize plans. So it should be very enhancing for differentiation and to facilitate multiple tiered systems of support. It also has a 0.8 correlation, which is high, of predictive value for how the students are going to perform on the M-STEP. So that is useful for us. And it also it's sort of like a language translator. We can plug in our last set of M-STEP scores our last set of NWEA scores, and it gives us a previous baseline in FastBridge metrics. So it's good that we can still compare how we were before to how we are now. It meets all the state requirements for an assessment tool. Okay, so that's it on FastBridge. I think Todd's going to touch on it a little more with our ECOL report coming up. Another thing we talked about is that section 2 for our resolution to eradicate racism and to create more equitable and inclusive schools for all children. So I'll read you section 2, which says the board directs the board instructional committee to develop and/or revise policies and protocols, integrating additional content that is racially and culturally literate into the curriculum and within the school buildings. So we had some discussion about that. Margaret informed us that the Student Equity Council, which is comprised of high school students at this time, they are creating a resource guide to start with for high school teachers, but then to move through all of the staff regarding classroom resources that can be used to diversify the curriculum. We talked about academics and behavior and just how all of this work dovetails together, how teaching and learning and instructional approaches are a one facet and a gateway to larger conversations about equity and inclusion. And we talked about making a commitment to discussing the work on the resolution at all of the BIC meetings. So that was that. We also talked about the ECOL report, which is coming up very soon. So I'm not going to say anything more about that. The things on BIC Horizon are to work on metrics and targets for goal area 1 of the strategic plan, which is academics, to discuss high school start times, to discuss bond-related transitions, and the International Academy and the DP program. So that is all I have. Cynthia or Jackie, do you have anything did I miss anything?
I think that you covered everything. I just have some kind of I have a question probably for Tina, because you were talking, Jennifer, about our diversity inclusion. And yesterday there was an executive order that gave guidance on any entity that takes federal funds. And I just wonder if you've seen anything on that, Tina? Did you see anything on it? It's about,
Tina was, again, I think you need to unmute your microphone. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
I don't know if it affects us at all, but.
and you're talking about the federal funding. I'll take a look at that, Jackie. Off the top of my head, I'm not sure, but just to clarify, you are looking for a little bit more information related to the federal funds we received and something that we would be required to do around diversity and inclusion. Okay,
Training.
I'll check that out.
Thanks.
Any other questions for Jennifer? Okay, with that, we will go to Lisa, the report of the Board Policy Committee.
Thanks, Paul. The policy committee met on September 1st. We are in the process of coordinating board policy and board operating procedure, BOP. We're working from the BOP template, which was given to us by the same firm that developed our policy, our administrative policy, and administrative regulations. And it's a really good template to work from. We worked our way through most of the standard language, and now we're customizing it with Bloomfield, focusing on our own needs and our own ideas. What I like a lot of things about the template, but one of the things I really like is it sort of lends itself to easy customization for districts so that you can put your own officer election policies in place, and but it gives you a really nice outline so that you can update according to statutory changes and laws, things that need updating. Okay, what we're working on, for example, is a conflict of interest statement, volunteerism statement, committee structure. These are all things that we work on at home mostly, so we don't take up all of our meeting time. We come with ideas to the meeting, discuss them with the administrators who are part of our team, and once we get it into a final form, it will come as a recommendation to the full board, and we can have a discussion on each part of all of the recommendations. Sometimes if there's an immediate need, we'll rush through a specific policy recommendation, but there haven't been since September 1st. Some of the goals that we have are to finish the BOP, have it ready for the new board, but be able to take advantage and capitalize on the collective experience and input of 3 outgoing board members so that we can utilize all of that in having this in place. So next steps, we're working at our at-home revisions to the policies. So when we come to our next meeting, we will have some things in writing to propose to the group, suggestions, and based on ideas and discussions that we've been having at the last meeting. Howard and Jennifer are part of the board members that are part of this committee. Do you have anything to add that I missed?
I just want a point of clarification. Is it correct to say that the BOP it's not part of the policy? It sits separate from the policy, and it's more of like an instruction manual for our activities.
That's my understanding too, Jennifer. I think of the policy as sort of a giant document that provides links to all of administrative regulations, student code of conduct. So it's sort of a place where you can find links to things like this. It will be policy in the policy that we adhere to our operating procedure, but none of the specifics from the operating procedure are reiterated in the policy. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. And
Okay.
we remember to put in that sentence in the policy that we commit to follow.
I actually think it might be there because
Yeah.
I think, you know, it's a well-designed skeleton. So it does sort of anticipate boards doing things like this. So it's been pretty easy to follow. Does anyone have any questions of any of us on the committee? Okay.
With that, thanks, Lisa. Thanks for the update. And thanks, Jennifer. Thanks for the BIC update. And we will hand it over to Pat for the extended continuous learning plan.
Thank you, President Kolin. So on August 20th of 2020, Governor Whitmer signed House Bill 5913 into law, this Public Act 149. So Section 98A states that in order to receive state aid for the 2020-2021 school year, districts must provide for instruction under an extended COVID-19 learning plan that has been approved by an intermediate district or authorizing body. So this plan does not replace the district's COVID-19 preparedness and response plan. It is an additional plan that includes new assurances and sections on educational goals, instructional delivery, rating, and equitable access. So some of the assurances that are built into the ECOL. Bloomfield Hills Schools will make their Oakland Schools approved extended COVID-19 learning plan accessible through the transparency reporting link located on www.bloomfield.org no later than October 1st of 2020. Bloomfield Hills Schools will create and make available on its transparency reporting link located on the district's website a report concerning the progress made in meeting the educational goals contained in the extended COVID-19 learning plan not later than February 1st of 2021, for goals as expected would be achieved by the middle of the school year and not later than the last day of school of the 2020-21 school year for goals Bloomfield Hills Schools expected will be achieved by the end of the school year. If delivering pupil instruction virtually, Bloomfield Hills Schools will provide pupils with equitable access to technology and the internet necessary to participate in instruction, and expose each pupil to the academic standards that apply for each pupil's grade level or courses in the same scope and sequence as the Bloomfield Hills Schools have planned for that exposure to occur for in-person instruction. Benchmark assessments, Bloomfield Hills Schools will select a benchmark assessment or benchmark assessments that are aligned to state standards. Administer the approved benchmark assessment or local benchmark assessment or any combination thereof to all pupils in grades K through 8 to measure proficiency in reading and mathematics within the first 9 weeks of the 2020-2021 school year, and again, not later than the last day of the 2020-2021 school year. Bloomfield Hills Schools, in consultation with the local health department, will develop guidelines concerning appropriate methods for delivering pupil instruction for the 2020-2021 school year that are based on local data that are based on key metrics. Key metrics that Bloomfield Hills Schools will consider shall include at least all of the following: COVID-19 cases or positive COVID-19 tests, hospitalizations due to COVID-19, number of deaths resulting from COVID-19 over a 14-day period, COVID-19 cases for each day for each 1 million individuals, the percentage of COVID-19 tests over a 4-week period, health capacity strength, testing, tracing, and containment infrastructure with regard to COVID-19. If Bloomfield Hills Schools determines that it is safe to provide in-person instruction to pupils, Bloomfield Hills Schools will prioritize providing in-person instruction to pupils in grades K through 5 who are enrolled in the district. Bloomfield Hills Schools assures that instruction will be delivered as described in this plan and approved by the Bloomfield Hills School Board of Education. The description of instructional delivery in this plan matches the delivery of instruction to be delivered during the 2020-2021 school year. The Bloomfield Hills Schools will reconfirm how instruction will be delivered during the 2020-2021 school year 30 days after ISD approval of the plan and every 30 days thereafter at a meeting of the board. And public comment will be solicited from the parents or legal guardians of the pupils enrolled in Bloomfield Hills Schools during a public meeting described in PA 149. Bloomfield Hills Schools will ensure that students with disabilities will be provided with equitable access to instruction and accommodation in accordance with applicable state and federal laws, rules, and regulations. Bloomfield Hills Schools will ensure that two-way interactions occur between a pupil enrolled in Bloomfield Hills Schools and the pupil's teacher, or at least one of the pupils' teachers during each week of the school year for at least 75% of the pupils enrolled in Bloomfield Hills schools. The Bloomfield Hills schools will publicly announce its weekly interaction rates at each Bloomfield Hills School Board meeting, where it reconfirms how instruction is being delivered. The Bloomfield Hills schools will make those rates available through the transparency reporting link located on the Bloomfield Hills Schools website each month for the 2020-2021 school year. Goals and FastBridge. Before I talk about the goals for this year, a couple of things to keep in mind when we were working on these goals. We had a couple options. Option number one, you can go with the old adage where you underpromise and overdeliver, where you know you can make the goal so low that almost no matter what, you're going to make it. Or you can decide to bite off more than you can chew and kind of chew like heck. And we went with the second option. We know these are going to be incredibly lofty goals. These would be great goals under normal circumstances. We know if we don't reach the goals, it won't be because we don't have some of the best teachers in the nation or because of lack of effort. But when we really thought about it, we think it's important to set our goals high, to have high expectations for all of our students, to have high expectations for all of ourselves. And if we don't quite make it, then we just don't quite make it. But let's not underpromise and try to overdeliver at the end. So our reading goal, Bloomfield Hills School will maintain proficiency averages established prior to COVID-19 in readings for grades K through 8, with all students on track to make a year's worth of academic growth during the 2020-2021 school year. Mathematics goal, Bloomfield Hills Schools will maintain proficiency averages established prior to COVID-19 in mathematics for grades K through 8, with all students on track to make a year's worth of academic growth during the 2020-2021 school year. Social emotional learning, Bloomfield Hills Schools will screen, respond to, and support student wellness. Multi-tier systems of supports. Although MTSS is always important, we understand its urgency due to COVID-19 and have developed an MTSS response to COVID summarized below. A multi-tier system of support is a comprehensive framework comprised of a collection of research-based strategies designed to meet the individual needs and assets of the whole child. The following 5 essential components of MTSS are interrelated and complementary. Team-based leadership, tiered delivery system, selection and implementation of instruction, interventions, and supports, comprehensive screening and assessment system, continuous database decision-making. As we slowly start to phase in and return to school, it is critical that we are focused on the mental health of our students. We all must work together in order to recognize when students may need additional support. As we are continuing to check in with students, our staff will utilize the chart here to the left to guide and support our students. So some of the things I'd also like to review that were presented earlier that are part of the ECOL. Distance learning is employed for all students during times of complete building closure, during the cohort hybrid schedule, or during periods of required quarantine. Each staff member has a digital platform for students to engage with, including Google Classroom and Canvas. Teachers provide direct instruction via tools like Zoom and Google Meets, while also providing learning-focused feedback in small group and individual one-on-one settings. Multiple cohorts in hybrid scheduling has been designed to reduce the number of students in the face-to-face classroom setting. Students in grades K through 8 will engage in classroom learning in AM or PM cohorts on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. Students attending in the AM will engage in remote and asynchronous learning in the afternoon and vice versa. Wednesdays will include whole class activities specific to student wellness and social emotional learning. In addition, students will engage in their co-curricular learning such as PE, music education, Spanish, and art. Students in grades 9 through 12 will engage in classroom learning in A and B cohort grouping. On Monday and Tuesday, all A cohort group students will attend in-person instruction, and cohort B will attend these classes through distance learning concurrently. On Thursday and Friday, all B cohort group students will attend in-person instruction, and cohort A will attend these classes through distance learning concurrently. On Wednesdays, all students will attend classes through distance learning. Wednesday will also include specific social emotional learning activities for all 9 through 12 students. Bloomfield Virtual provides an equitable, caring, and safe learning environment for kindergarten through 5th grade students that is fully virtual. Bloomfield Virtual encourages students to be intellectually curious and academically ambitious, leveraging the power of technology and community. Bloomfield Virtual Learning promotes student agency for all learners to achieve their highest aspirations. Bloomfield Hills Schools is committed to building and supporting a technology ecosystem that is focused on providing equal access for our students, families, and staff that includes connectivity support, access to tools and devices, family technical support for learning and troubleshooting technology issues. Specifically, Bloomfield Hills Schools provides connectivity to broadband, cell services for in-district and center program families in need, access to software tools for online and offline work that is accessible on district and non-district devices, district provided devices for each student, and additional devices for hybrid or distance learning scenarios for our students with additional learning requirements, virtual classrooms and resources available 24/7, including over 300 software applications and tools for students, provide electric and analog learning resources and support materials directly to families to support and supplement online and offline work, family help desk for families to access real-time support, website and portals for students and families to access additional support materials and resources, and translation services for families to communicate with district services. Special education supports, we presented this information at the September 2nd Board of Education meeting with the Blackhawk Extended Care, which was part of that. That's included in the ECOL as well. And then instructional delivery and exposure to core content. This was presented and approved at the August 6th Board of Education meeting. These were the hybrid plans that we had shared at that time. President Kolin, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. We'll go in order of questions. Jennifer?
My only question is what happens after we file this report? Like, does someone from the state contact us and say, yes, this is acceptable? And we expect to, I know there was a February date in here, like we have to check in with them a couple times this year.
Right, so my understanding is Oakland Schools, the ISD, will approve the plan. And then every board meeting moving forward, we will need to review the plan. It will need to be approved again. And then in February, we need to give an update on where we are. We said that's where our goals are. Are we making progress? Are we going to get the full year? Are we going to get a quarter of a year? Where are we at? And we kind of share that progress with the board. Then the final report coming out in June as well. And I get their lofty goals, but I think, and this was kind of the feeling of everyone on the team, let's shoot for the highest goal possible. Let's see what we can do. Let's rally and try to bring everyone together and see what happens, and not just shoot low just because it's easy and more convenient.
Anything else, Jennifer? That was your only question.
Yeah, and just a quick question about so when we have these updates, a year's worth, you guys will have the parameters that you set for what is a year's worth of progress, whether that be state standards or the FastBridge scores or something of that nature.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Jennifer. Mark?
No questions.
Jackie?
No questions.
Okay, thanks, Jackie. I have a question just as a follow-up, and I know someone brought it up in public comment. So as we're going back to, as we go to the hybrid method and people are going to be zooming in, let's just say, and it was a concern. I remember my kids went to BHMS. What have we done to upgrade the technology at some of our schools to make sure that the connectivity is there?
So I'll turn that over to David.
Yes, so we have, we did a few years ago, we updated the network and our Wi-Fi systems. I completely disagree with the public comment that normally there's problems with BHMS. We have over 10,000 devices every day that connect to our network when we have people in school, and we will see, a dozen or two that may be having problems. So we know those are more isolated rather than a systemic issue. So as we go through the bond, we'll be doing another upgrade as well. But for now, we actually have one of the better and best and plenty of bandwidth to accommodate devices coming on site.
Okay. That's one question. The only other question, just as a follow-up, Pat, I know we were looking to address the Bloomfield virtual class size issue. I think have we hired, or maybe Kelly can comment about the student teachers that we were looking to get to help alleviate some of those concerns?
Right. So we've partnered with a couple of universities. So we have the University of Indiana that we've partnered with, and they'll be sending mentors that will work with our students. We've also partnered with Oakland University as well, and with the opportunity to partner with Ball State. And so we're continuing to look at that option. I know Kimberly, you had the opportunity to meet with Tina, I believe is her name, from the University of Indiana. So I don't know if you have any further update other than what I've already shared.
Hi, Pat. Yes, I spoke with Tina Honeycutt, and Indiana University is fully prepared to partner with our staff. They're going to also be running some support on their end in terms of the field students that will be working with Bloomfield students. The partnership is an exciting one, focused specifically on literacy and math. And in addition to Indiana University, students from Oakland University and Ball State, as you've said, will be dialing in with students during the remote hours of our current hybrid schedule at several of the elementaries as well, in addition to Bloomfield Virtual. So lots of exciting partnerships out there, and we imagine that those will continue to evolve over time. These are pre-service students that will begin with some observation and close partnership with the classroom teacher, and then move forward from there over the course of this semester.
Thanks, Kimberly. Thanks, Pat. Okay, I have no further questions. Cynthia?
Just for clarification, this plan that has it already been submitted to Oakland schools, and how quickly is a turnaround for that acceptance anticipated?
It has not been submitted. We're waiting on board approval, which hopefully we'll get tonight to submit. And, Dr. Cook Robinson and her staff are incredibly quick at turning these things around. I fully expect we get it well before October 1st. She's always been fantastic. Anything we've needed, she's been right there 24/7.
Thank you. No more questions.
Thank you.
Thanks, Cynthia. Lisa?
So my question is, I know that as part of the executive order, we have to give monthly reports. First, I was going to say bi-monthly, but it's monthly reports. Okay. So curious also about what we're going to be able to include in some of the reports, because I like that you laid out the plan and what we're submitting. But in terms of the updates from this point going forward, I know it's really early days, but I'd really like to hear from face-to-face teachers and virtual academy teachers how it's going. I'd like to hear from Leonard and see if there's any safety issues. I'd like to see whether it's little, big, some of the feedback that you're getting. I know you've gotten a lot, and I know you've been really quick to respond to it. Very curious how transportation's going, if there's bottlenecks with kids submitting forms at doors and all the little things, and what we're doing to kind of fix those things. So I don't know if there's going to be a format to these reports going into the future, but once we approve this plan, which I think is great, the mandated updates would just be nice to sort of hear from different buildings and different maybe people who are actually getting some feedback as to what's going on. Have you gotten anything that you want to share with us so far? I know, like I said, it's early days, but.
Well, funny you should ask. yes, and the parents are beyond excited to be back in school. Yes, there have been some logistical errors, but Todd, if you're on, I want to give you the opportunity to talk about what you've been planning and talking about potentially for October 8th, because that answers a lot of the questions Trustee Efros is, kind of looking, and I think everyone will be excited to hear what you shared with me a couple times now.
Yeah, actually, I think Lisa just really kind of nailed it in terms of perhaps taking a look at a study session where we invite small teams from buildings just to have a dialogue around and descriptions, and just to discuss what's happening at the building levels. That's probably the best way to kind of get a good perspective of that. So I'll reach out to building principals, ask them to consider how to design that interaction and who they might bring back October 8th. And then I think Lisa really kind of gave a good example. So I'm trying to figure out what I could add onto it, but I think kind of how she explained that, I think that would be a great study session for October.
So the reason I turned over to Todd's already been planning this. So it almost seems like a setup. You asked me the question. I'm like, oh yeah, sure, Todd. What do you think? He's like, yeah, I was thinking about that too. So he's been telling me for a while, we got to do this. We got to do this. The community wants to hear from our administrators. They want to hear from our teachers. The board needs to hear directly from the people that are on the front lines. So I'm like, yeah, we're going to do it. We're going to do it. And he's like, Pat, we got to do it. I'm like, yes, October 8th, we can do it. So glad you mentioned it. We're looking forward to it. And it'll be great to hear from the teachers and administrators of what's going on, what they're seeing every day.
Thank you, Lisa, for being the straight man.
Lisa, do you have any other questions or comments?
Nope, that's it.
Okay. Howard?
I don't have a question, but I have a very brief statement. I just wanted to give a practical update to Pat's COVID-19 update earlier in the meeting. I had well, we were talking about the kids being able to use the county resource to get a COVID test. I got a COVID test this week. Just a couple of things, the way practically it worked out. When you go on the website and make the appointment, they do not take the appointment that day. You have to wait a day. So I called on Monday and the appointment was on Tuesday. And when I had the test, they said it would take 3 to 5 business days. It came back in 2 business days. So I had the test on Tuesday. I got the results this afternoon. So the system seems to be working pretty well. And it was in and out, no lines, drove in, drove right out, took about 5 minutes.
Thank you. That's great information. Thank you for sharing.
Thanks, Howard. Okay, if we have, thanks very much, Pat, for the update. So with that, can I get a motion on the floor? We will go to the board business. We will need to vote on the plan.
I move the Board of Education approve the extended continuity of learning plan.
Do I have support?
Support.
Any discussion? Okay, I assume no, since we just discussed it. Howard?
Yes.
Lisa?
Yes.
Jennifer?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
Jackie?
Yes.
Howard? Oh no. Cynthia?
Yes.
You don't want me to do it again.
No. And I'm a yes. Motion passes 7-0. Thank you very much, Pat, team, and I will call for adjournment. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.